Okay, so in today's video, you are going to love this one. If you are tired of cutting up your fabrics, especially your fat quarters, into small pieces and sewing them back together, today, none of that is going to happen. You are going to fall in love with this quilt. I want to reveal something so beautiful to you that even you are going to be like, wow. No stress with this one, just falling in love with a beautiful quilt, and every person you show this quilt to, they're gonna be like, wow, what the hell? How? Let's get started. Hello there everybody, and let's get started. So in today's tutorial we'll be making a beautiful block, as you already seen in the intro. What I wanted to point out to you is that I'm using fat quarters, and I'm using these particular fat quarters for a reason. I think that they will go really nicely with the quilt. Now these particular fat quarters that I'm using here have lines on it. Okay, now I don't know if you can make it out in the camera, but I'm going to try and bring it a little bit closer so you can see. All right, so there's lots of vertical lines or horizontal lines depending on how you actually lay the block out. Now what I want to point out to this is I think this particular type of fabric is good for this block. The reason being is that you would see once the block is made. What I would say for this block, what I think will be ideal is a batiks. Now I have some batiks here, but they are of the nature of gray, sort of purple, you know, some green. As you know with batiks, because of how it's made, you get those different variation of colors, and so they think it would be perfect for the block. However, this is not really the colors I really wanted. All right, if you've got fabrics where you see that ombre effect, perfect, absolutely perfect for this block. And again, you would see why I would say that. And because of how the lines run on this, I'm going to cut it incongruent with the selvage. All right, so the selvage obviously is the strongest part of the fabric, so there's no give or bias cut. All right, so we're looking at where it's frayed at the end to find the selvage if you are new to quilting. So I'm going to fold it front sides together. Okay, that is the importance here. I'm just turning it around so I can see where that selvage stops and starts. It's very important to work with it front sides together. Now what I would say is that if you are going to cut on the bias grain, which I'm going to turn it this way, okay, so if I were to unfold it and then fold it the other way, which is now raw edge to raw edge, it's on the bias. As you can see, the fabric stretches there. So the reason I'm saying this is because I'm giving you some informed choice. We will be working with curves, okay, relax. We're also working with templates, which I have already cut. Now I've cut out my templates here, and I have, when you do cut yours, I would advise you to cut it on the first drawn line here. So as you can see, it gives you your 1/4 inch, and I'll give you a proper close-up in the pattern so that you're aware of what I'm referring to, and I will write on to here, you know, where your cut lines are. Okay, so that's what I have done. As you can see displayed in this particular example here, you can see the first line, and you will not be able to see the second line because that's my cut line. All right, what I have also done is use cardboard from a shoebox, which I feel that it's a lot more thinner and is not too thick if you use cardboard from a box, say for example. So, and then I'm taking some sellotape excuse me, and I've just simply put some sellotape behind, because when I'm cutting it will stop it from moving on the fabric. As you know, fabric can be smooth. All right, What I have also done to clarify and avoid making mistakes, which I have done already, is to, and I did this after, I was like, oops, I have cut the wrong template. So I've put template A on there. So it's big and bold to remind me, and template B. Now template A and B is what you are working with on your fat quarters. The other two, C and D, is for your background. Okay, I have taken the paper off of D, no particular reason, because, well, in all honesty, I felt the paper was sort of getting in the way, right? So I thought, well, if I've already cut the template already on the board, I don't need the paper. So I removed it, but I also wrote D on there for background, as well as this one here, C, for background, to remind me, because I incorrectly used my B fabric on my background. So it was just really to clarify me. So I'm sharing this with you so that you can do the same. I didn't identify them, or I can simply do that for you in the pattern. I think I will actually. All right, so I'm going to put aside C and D for now, out of my reach, so I don't reach them to cut. Okay, I've already explained this. So when you're cutting, I will cut just free around it, just to separate the template. And when you are cutting, just cut to the size of the template. Don't reduce anything on your computer. And then I would literally cut on the first drawn line there. Okay, so I can get my accurate cut for my D. All right, once you've done that, you stick it onto your board, and then, yeah, Bob's your uncle. Trimmers, cut around, and then I use scissors to cut the paper out. And when I was cutting the board out, I actually use my rotary cutter. Speaking of rotary cutter, you need a very sharp blade. You will be doing lots of cutting for this one. Okay, now what I would want to say is that in the video I said to you, you will not be doing lots of cutting, and in fact you are doing minimal cutting for this block. If you wanted to, so I am going to use the block as is on the fabric. Okay, as is on the fabric. If you wanted to, you could cut your fat quarters into sizes. Okay, so strips, you can cut yours into strips and use a varying color for your fat quarters. So let me just demonstrate that. So here's another lined or striped fat quarter. If you wanted to mix the colors, basically is what I'm saying, you would line them up, you know, and you will cut them into the strip set that you require. It's entirely down to you, really. But I felt to minimize and to have minimal cutting for this block, I chose to go with the latter, which is to use this as is. Now, what I was about to say to you is that when you start to cut, you need to decide, what are you using, the straight of grain or the bias cut? Okay, as I said, we're working with curves, so you may think that the bias cut is suitable, but to be honest, I have been using the straight of grain. The reason I'm saying that is because with the bias cut, you are able to fit all of the cuts that you want on here. Okay, so you remember we are cutting front sides together. Do not forget that. So you cut one less, you're getting two with each cut. You move, you get there as well. Okay, and you have another two, so you'll have 4 of A and you'll have 4 of B with, if you're using the bias edge. I hope that makes sense. Do bear in mind that also the dimensions of your stripes will change. It will be vertical then. All right, however, I am cutting on the straight grain and I'm going to fold front sides together, which means my lines are now horizontal. which is the cut I want. Okay, now the reason I mention about cutting, I know some of you may say you're talking too much, get on with it, but there's a reason in my explanation, because I want to make sure the video is a lot more clearer for you, because I know we're working with curves and some people might be afraid of it, but because of the template, the block making is so much easier. As I said, I am not cutting, so I'm going to use my template A and place it on there. Going back to the reason why I mentioned the bias edge is because when I put fabric A, block A, template A, my apologies, template B on there, and I put template A there again, yes, I get my 4 templates cut on the horizontal. However, on the B, there is no room. As you can see, it sticks off at the end on the cutting board. Hence the reason why I've given you the option to say you can use it on the bias. You will just have to be a little bit gentle when it comes to sewing, because if you pull it, you would further stretch it. All right, but let me show you how I have avoided the issue of now not using the end here. So once I am finished with my cut, obviously I would have, let's say for example, I cut from the top of the raw edge here. I will have this space in the middle here, and then one of my cut will be vertical. Let me demonstrate that to you now with this one here. So this is my blue fabrics. All right, you can see the vertical there, and you can see the horizontal there. Okay, now I am using lines of fabric with stripes or strips or whatever markings you want to call them for a reason. I remember doing a video and someone said to me, well, I would never use stripes with fabric, and I think it's such a limitation on yourself to eliminate that. And so I wanted to demonstrate that you can use fabric with stripes. You just have to find the right project that will allow you to use it without lining up, and for you to look past that, because once the block is formed, you wouldn't really see that particular stripes, and it will fall into the beauty of the block, because I will feel that my block is going to be suitable to use stripes. So I just wanted to clarify that, you know, if you're using the cut sense, or you're cutting the fabric on the straight of grain, you will have to then open the fabric once you're finished with your cuts to get your last B cut. But I will demonstrate just so that you are aware, but I wanted to draw that to your attention. Okay, so remember at the start, you can use yardage, you can use fat quarter, you can use scraps if you want to, and I like to give the variation so that you're clear. All right, so let's get into cutting. So this is my raw edges here for my straight of grain where my selvage is, and I'm going to turn that towards me. I've lined it up at the bottom. Well, all I'm simply going to do is just make sure that the raw edge here for the fat quarters, all the holes, is just slightly below or slightly above where the actual backing of this fabric, I say backing, but where it's fold over. So basically what I'm saying is try not to cut the selvage into your block. You don't want that. Okay, importantly, we are cutting front sides together. All right, I'm going to take my template with my board attached, and I'm going to lay it down as close as possible. I'm going to zoom in so that you can see this quite clearly, and then there is no sort of confusion of what is happening here. All right, so sharp blade in hand, and I'm going to make sure that the two fabrics are folded together edge to edge, and I'm placing my template here as close to the edge as possible because I want to maximize the cuts correctly and not to waste anything. I'm going to check also to the bottom that my holes here, my fabric is not going to be in the cut. All right, once you have a very sharp blade, you really wouldn't have any problems at all. This is a brand new blade that I've popped in there. I've used it probably about 3 or 4 times, and so I know my blade is nice and sharp. I'm going to give the template good structure on here, and also yet again I have added some sellotape so that I know it's not going to move when I find a placement that I like. Okay, and I'm going to line it up and press down really nicely so that it stays. Okay, then using my rotary cutter, it's going to take my time, and I'm budging the blade against the cardboard. Okay, I'm not cutting away, I'm not leaving a gap, I'm literally budging it up, and I'm going to come back, okay, because I want to get that edge right to the back there properly. And all I'm going to do is just simply go around, just budging it, taking your time, going all the way around. It's not difficult at all. Once I get there, I shift my hand over, I bend, and I continue my cut. And I'm going to cut all the way off. Right, once that's done, because I am not using a rotary board, and because I have used sellotape, I can just turn it. I haven't got a rotating mat, so it's easy just to move it, and that way I don't have to interfere with the template. And all I'm going to do now is continue what I did and simply hold it down, continue yet again all the way around, keeping it nice and close to the edge. And I'm not cutting the paper at all. I'm not rushing this. Why I'm not rushing it? Well, number one, my piecing here is quite minimal, isn't it? I don't have to rush it because at the end of the day, I'm not cutting up in the fabric into small pieces. I'm simply just using the fabric as is. Okay, I'm using the fat quarter as is. So minimal cutting here. All right, and as easy as that, you now have two of your blocks. You can see how good it works there. It's kept it. And you have two blocks like so. All right, so as I said, you will get 4 from each fat quarter. I'm using a fat quarter of, think of 8, but I'll confirm that in the pattern. All right, so the next step now, as I've done my A, I'm going to go with B. I don't want to pick up D. So I push it aside. I'm going to go with B now, and I'm going to place B next to that cut because it's got the curve, hasn't it? It's got that curve. So again, I want to maximize getting the best cuts out of the fat quarter. Okay, so again, I'm going to press it down. I know my sellotape's there, and just so that it doesn't move. And yet again, I'm going to hold it nice and firm. And I'm going to include all the notches here, okay, where it has been laid out properly or cut onto the template. I'm using all of those, and I'm just going to, again, come back first, just follow the markings, and again, just go all the way around, holding that template down, because any other template you would hold down, wouldn't you? You wouldn't just cut it freehand. You will hold it down, keeping it nice. And I'm going to go up, cut that notch off there, mark it the other side, and you would see it when you do yours. When you cut yours, you will clearly see the notches mark on your template. And I'm going to go right off there, pull that away, make sure you press down. Okay, so that's off now. Again, I'm just gonna tidy this up because it's just little pieces now to take off. Mark my notches there, cut it off. I've just got a little piece there to get off, like so. And I've got to tidy up the edges here now. So no rushing, just take your time. As I said, you haven't got loads of piecing to do, not lots of cutting to do either. And just take your time and go around the circle. Just follow that curve all the way around. Done. It's as simple as that. And again, because it's front sides together, you get your 2 cuts, notches included. Can you see that? Yeah? And that's it. And notice it's horizontal. All right, so that's that cut there and the other cut. And so you would continue to do the same, bringing it back in and using the curve again because it fits into that curve. Again, maximizing as much as possible because I don't want to waste the fabric. Okay, and again, you will have a little bit of trimmings that you can use in a beautiful scrap quilt. So again, put it all down and you're going to cut again as normal. Again, come back and follow through. All right, so now to make our final cut of B, remember we need 4 of each. All right, so we have 2 and 2, so we have 4. I mean, you got 2 here. So what we need to do now, okay, is open this up and you would see that we have enough fabric here to make our 2 final B cuts. However, what I want you to pay attention to is the fact that my fabric now is vertical. All right, so I mean, these are just choices you have to make. However, if you're using sort of ombre or, you know, batiks or floral, I wouldn't really advise floral. I mean, you can, well, yeah, it depends on the floral. I will say definitely bright florals will be suitable for this, and again, you would see why I say that once you see the block. Okay, but if you're using stripes, this is just the only precaution that you would have, some vertical and some horizontal when it comes to your B. All right, and you do the same. You press it down. You just want to make sure that you have enough space, and you can see I have enough space to cut it out. All right, so let's finish that off and then we'll move on to how to sew the blocks together. And I will lay the block out so that you see what it looks like. All right, so once that's done, you will then do the same for background C and background D. All right, so these are going to be a background fabrics, as it clearly states. Now I've already cut those up just to speed time up, and it's the same essentially, and you'll get all the instructions in the pattern for that. You need 2 of background D, and you need 2 of background C in order to form the block. Again, you are cutting front sides together. All right, so let's move all of these pieces here. As I said, you get some nice little pieces that you can use for scraps, and will make a beautiful scrap quilt at some point. All right, so I'm going to back up the camera so that you can see how to lay the block out. So for 1 fat quarter, you should have 4 of B and 4 of A. So A and B, all right? And then we have C and D. So 2 for C and 2 for D. So in order to start, I'm going to turn it around. Doesn't really matter anyway, but I'm just, I don't know why I did that. But that's the way the block fits. So you're taking 2 of these. Now I'm checking mines because it's white background, and you need it to, I have little prints on them, so I just want it to be right side up. Okay, so I'm just going to choose one way, and this is how it goes. So that's the base of the first one, and I'm going to take my middle block here. I'll take one that's nice and flat, and that sits here. And I've actually called this block Genie in a Bottle. I hope that makes sense, and you can see why. So again, using my fabric, I'm going to turn, that goes in there. So belly to belly, belly to belly, which gives you a beautiful rectangular block, and that's what it looks like. So hopefully you can see why it didn't really matter that I was using stripes for my cuts. All right, I mean, as I said, floral will look beautiful, nice vibrant floral against the background, absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't really make a huge difference if you've got it horizontal or vertical. If it's horizontal, the B cut I'm referring to, then it lines up horizontal. I'm not sure at what point the camera cut off, but here we are again. So this is the block layout. So what we're going to do now is to sew it together. Okay, and as with anything, when it comes to curves, you need to find the middle point. So we're going to start with the top one. It doesn't really matter which one, but we're going to fold edge to edge, front sides together, and we are going to find the middle of the belly. Let's call the curve the belly. All right, again, fold front sides together, find the middle of the belly, and with this one as well, and find the middle of the belly. Okay, once you've done that, you'll do the same for the other side. You'll find the belly of both of the curves. Okay, and we're going to flip it on top like so. So we want those marked areas sitting together. So let's go over to the sewing machine and I'll show you this a lot more closely. All right, so we're going to start with the base. Doesn't really matter, but I'm going to show you how to sew all of the curves together. So I have ironed just the corners here just to ensure it's nice and creased so that you can see it, and I've done the same for the other cut here. Folded front sides together. Remember, we're using the curve. Sorry, we're using the curve, and we're going to line up that crease line against the crease line here. I'm going to turn it so that it's easier for me to work with it. So crease lines together like so, and the first pin is going to go there. We're going to make sure that all of the lines line up properly edge to edge, and we're going to pin it there in that crease line. Okay, the next we're going to do is to then turn the block and put the sides on there like so. Now what I want to point out here, I'll just use my scissors here to point out. So you really need to make sure that the flat side of your notch really goes in the corner. You don't want anything sticking out. Nothing is to be stuck out. You don't want anything sticking out behind it, okay? We want it flush. So we wanted that notch to be literally edge to edge there. So no 1/4 inch allowance here, okay? We've already trimmed that off, so it's just sitting right and flush, and we're going to pin like so. All right, same with the other side. Nice and flush against the corner there. And we're going to pin yet again. Okay, and you're going to do it for the other side. So in realistic terms, it should look like that, like a mustache. All right, so that is what we're aiming at. So I'm going to bring the in. In fact, let me pin the other one, so that way I can just go straight into sewing both sides so that you can see what it looks like. So again, the bigger cuts now with this one here. And we're going to open. We see our line there, our pressed line. Again, we're working with the belly or the curve. Okay, do not, I repeat, do not put the straight edge. It will not fit. All right, remember, we're working with the belly. I'm saying the belly for a reason so that you remember. And I'm just checking that it's front sides together. And we're going to do the same and put it there. I'm going to turn it the other way because when I sew, I'm going to sew it from this end. All right, so I'm just going to line it up yet again. That curve, you're going to hear my budgie in the background making noise. He wants to go outside. But it's a little bit cold outside and they're not supposed to be in cold temperature. And again, take the notch, line it up to the edge there as normal. Get my big hands out the way, like so. And pin. All right, next side yet again. And pin. I'm hoping that you can see all of this quite clearly. Okay, and we will get that mustache shape yet again, like so. All right, so you have two mustaches. All right, so let's start with either one. Doesn't really matter. And obviously, you would do the same for the other side. So let's sew it together now. Something is making me sneeze. I haven't got a clue what it is. All right, so to start now, I'm going to place my needle right on the top of that area there, as close as possible, lining it up on an angle. Don't line it up like that, otherwise it's wrong. Yeah, just at an angle where you're going to start at that tip there. And I'm just going to put the needle in very close to the pin and put it down. Okay, now the objective here is to, as you sew, I keep coughing like this, as you sew, probably need some water. As you sew, is to literally tuck the top fabric and slide the bottom fabric. So you're crossing over like so. You're crossing over the fabric. So if you look at my index finger here on the background and my other index finger on the top, and I'm just simply lining it up so that it meets. Okay, once I'm happy with that, you'll probably need a pointy tool. I don't know where mine is, but anyway. And I'm going to put the presser foot down and release the pin, just making sure there is no, you can see a little bit of a crimp. That's it. Done. So everything is lined up properly. Now, this is not problematic. I am taking this in slow steps. I would have done this within 1 second of starting to sew, but obviously I'm demonstrating it to you, so I will take my time and go through this. All right, so just make sure you line up properly on the edge. Once you're happy with that, you know, you do the same. And what I do sometimes is just use my middle finger here just to pull the fabric and use my index finger here just to align it properly. And then you just take your time and sew all the way around. Just turn it nice and slow. I think I've got a knot there. Let me just lift that up and move it. Typical. Doesn't happen when I'm not doing anything, when I'm not demonstrating, but as soon as I am, these things happen. Anyway, let's continue and just glide it through, okay? And again, just take your time and line it up properly, moving. And you can do this dead slow if you want to, or you can just speed it up. But, you know, as you do one or two, you will get confident with it. If it tries to pleat, don't pleat it. Sorry, I think I need a sink of water. Don't pleat it. Just let it flatten itself out, and I'll show you how. Okay, so for example, I'm going to do is just open up the top fabric and smoothen it out, okay? And just continue to line it up. And as you get closer, you do the same, you keep going. I'm going to remove the center pin because I'm almost there. And just hold down those pleats, but it will smoothen up as you go around. Again, just keep lining up all the way around. Keep holding it all the way around, just flatten it down. And it will crimple. Yeah, that is how it works, because you're going around edges, aren't you? As long as you don't pleat it or fold it over to where the both raw edges meet. That's the only precaution here. But let it do its thing naturally. And I'm going to remove the last one. Hold that. Line it up. Now remember I talked about the bias. So let's say you're sewing it on with the bias cut. Again, you'll be able to stretch it. And again, you could end up overstretching. So just be careful what you do there. Okay. And if it comes up a little bit longer, by all means, let it go over. And then you just trim it off. And just take that over. All right, and just pull. And it's cut. And let's have a look and see what it looks like. So that's what it looks like. Okay, I've gotten a little bit of a tuck there, but it doesn't come through on the other side. So I'm going to fold it over and see what it looks like. So you see how nice and neat that looks, and that's what we're aiming at. All right, so that curve goes around nicely, and when you go to iron, obviously you would iron like so. All right, so let's do the other side. So again, front sides together, belly. You're not lining up the straight edge, you're lining up the belly of the curve. All right, so in the valley, and you can see it meets there nicely. Get your pins yet again and line it up. I'm not going right to the edge, but just enough. Measure and pin, line up your center, and I'm pinning right on that crease line on both of them, and the other one to the end there. Just line it all up and pin. And you'll do literally the same for the other side. So we've done this side. I don't want the video to be too long. So we're going to do, so you now know how to do the curve on this side, okay? So let's do this side so that you have an idea how it works as well. Same technique is applied. And again, I'm going to just line up these both edges, these raw edges together there. I'm getting a little bit of a pleat because of my pin, but I'm not going to worry about that until, because I don't want to have to undo it. So I'm going to press it down and just go as close as possible to the pin so that it stays in place. And once it's in place, I'm just going to take the pin out and again, just line up and just take your time and start. All right. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I literally just noticed at the end that I am sewing the wrong side on. So let me show you. So you can see it. And I don't know how I didn't notice this until I get right to the end and finish it. So now I have to unpick. This is what lack of concentration. This is what lack of concentration causes. You know, I don't know where my mind was. I wasn't watching TV and I wasn't really concentrating. I gotta laugh at myself. I have to laugh at myself. So now I have to unpick this. So yeah, this is for the top part, Karen. Surely, how many of these blocks have you made already and you're making this mistake? All right, so yeah, okay, so learn from me, you know, don't put the block. You know, had I completed this one initially and the other side, it would have been fine because I just realized I pinned the wrong one. I pinned the wrong one. Talk about a terrible demonstration. Okay, so I have to now do this over. Okay, so don't come for me in the comments. I could choose to not show this at all, but because of who I am, and you know, I bring honesty to you guys so that, you know, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all lose lack of concentration. And hey, this is what quilting is all about. So easy to pick up the wrong piece and stitch on together and only realize when you get to the end. Never mind, I will unpick. So here we go. Almost done. Right, so let's start again, shall we? Remove all those threads. All right, so just make sure you find your M. This is what I should have taken heed of in the first time, but I didn't, all right? Nevertheless, it's good to make mistakes, and I want you to see how it can be easily corrected without any stress, really. All right, here we go. All right, so this is the result of this one now, okay? So I'm going to finish up the other one, and then we will take it to the iron press and then complete. When you're ironing, just make sure it's lovely and flat. Okay, you can add a little bit of steam. Now you could force the curve back on the other side, but you'll have to add a little bit of steam to do so. I find that it's easier if you just let it go the way it wants to go. All right. Yes, you may see a little bit of the impression or a shadow of it on the front, but I think if you're using a good quality quilting fabric or background, it should be all right. Okay, that's just my iron. Right, so I'm going to turn it over, and you can see that beautiful curve at the front, so lovely and flat. Karen quit saying lovely. And let's do the other side. Now with the other side, you can just simply flatten it out. And in all honesty, some of them I really have just ironed towards, I don't know why I'm moving the camera, ironed towards Okay, so let's talk about the layout. What I have done is join the base and the top, as you can see here. So base and top joined. However, I've done that, but the blocks are not all sewn together. They're just laid on the table. There's two layouts for this, and I just wanted to go through this so that you are clear when you are making this yourself. The first option here, I have laid all the colors out together, as you can see. So my table is a little bit small, so I've just added on to the edge. So this is the black fabric here, the purple, the pink, the whatever color that is, blue, yellow, and the light blue for that. Okay, so there is one more fat quarter to do, which is a red, but I think I'm going to leave that out and not add it in from the bundle. All right, but you don't have to do what I have done. You can use your whole fat quarter to make the quilt. So this is the layout. What I want you to pay attention though is the movement of the white curves. Okay, so you can see what the layout looks like. And as I said, I have used all of the colors one after the other, so you can clearly see the colors here. What I am going to do though is mix it around and see if it looks any different with the colors being placed around the quilt top, and see what the curve movement brings. I think it might look better. Don't get me wrong, this looks nice. There's nothing wrong with this. Even if you wanted to change the stems around and say, like for example, you could have put the curve blue to the top with the curved stem. You can do that if you wish to mix it all around. But obviously, as you can tell, I've chosen to keep it together in its original state of the color flow movement, which looks gorgeous. It looks really good. But I am going to move the blocks around and see what it looks like. So obviously this is the whole block here. All right, so I'm going to move it all around so that the colors are mixed up. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. Alright, so to move it around, this is what I'm going to do. Now let me say this before I start making changes to this one. The way how I have lined it up is to see the curve movement, as I've mentioned before, okay? But also the blocks, in terms of the curved movement, is formed by starting with one upright and then turning it around. So for example, if we look at these two, I'll separate it. Jackson! Oh my gosh. Oh, he's gone outside. Okay, so this one is upright. Okay, and then I have this one upright also, which will indicate that this is my upright line. Okay, so this one here is facing down. So this will indicate that this is my row facing downward. So in order to achieve that S-shaped curly wavy movement, that is one. So right side up, turn down, okay, for the other one. And you go all the way through with that layout. So I'm going to mix it around. I think that I'm going to put that there. So if I take these two blocks, yeah, and I put them together, I just wanted to show you the pattern you may get. So if we, and I think I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again, if you lay them side by side and not turn them wrong side up and right side up, you're going to get the secondary pattern of that genie bottle shape there. Okay, so let's have this one here again. Let's change it, this position, and I'll change the mat so you can see it better. Let's take this one here as well. So this is what I'm referring to. If you want to go with this layout, this is a lovely layout also, okay, but you would have the white genie bottle or champagne glass or wine glass, and this is how my brain reads it. I don't know what yours, tell me down below what you see it as. So genie bottle, champagne glass, wine glass. What about champagne? No, because it's a skinnier stem, but definitely a wine glass. So you will get the same pattern in the white, okay? However, if you move it and do it upside down, right side up, you will... Alright, so this is now completed. This hourglass quilt measures 70 by 63. It's amazingly beautiful. Did you know that this particular hourglass design dates back to the 19th century? I didn't know that. A little bit of research goes a long way, doesn't it? This quilt is absolutely beautifully, amazingly gorgeous. Definitely. It looks intricate and difficult, but it's one of the most pleasing quilts I have absolutely ever made. Fabric contrast here is very, very important. This is a perfect blend of simplicity and elegance at its best when it comes to making a quilt like this. Absolutely gorgeous. Let's go in and have a look at the quilting of what I actually did. As you can see, I did meandering in between the waves, and it's beautiful the way that pattern absolutely shows off all of the hourglass movement. Working with curves can be so rewarding. It takes away the objective of it being so difficult, using the templates to help you create the pattern. For the quilting, I choose to do stems or wavy lines on the stems, as well as I did some waves of movement of curls on each of the hourglass shape. Standing back though, to me sometimes when I look at it, I see a wine glass, you know, but it gives variety to what you want to call your own particular quilt. Absolutely gorgeous, really, really gorgeous. It also gives the element for me of a genie shape bottle when you rub it. So simplistic, so beautiful, so elegantly made. It's an absolutely gorgeous quilt. I think the quilting was perfect for this, to show the movement. And what I do like is that if you look at it from this instance here, it looks like I have mixed the colors to get the shape here as well as the stem there. Just looks really awesome. I mean, ideally, really, this is the whole block here, you know? But from a distance, you think the colors are somewhat mixed together, depending on how you look at it. On the border, I did a blue Indian batiks for the borders, and I think that looks really well. The quilting shows up beautifully here on the border. Very, very nice. And of course, I went back in with that blue and white for the binding. Absolutely gorgeous. What a beautiful quilt. The size is good also. Let me show you the back. It's another blue for the back. And you can see all of the quilting. I did use very similar color because I didn't really want to clash because of the sort of a fabric that's behind here. I can't remember the name of the fabric now. That's behind here, very similar to batiks. Oh, it's sort of a grungy effect you get on it, but it's a very deep blue. It looks gray on the camera, but if I can try and catch it, there it is. That's the actual color. Beautiful quilt. I do feel, however, it's a quilt suited, and you share with me down below what you think. That it's a quilt suited for wall hanging rather than a bed quilt. I could be wrong. I also feel that this particular pattern will be suitable for a table runner. Again, I could be wrong. Share with me what you think. I will put it on the wall and then you can let me know. But if you'd like to make this pattern, of course, it's in the description box down below. And the link is there if you'd like to try it out yourself. Do like the quilting on it, definitely. It did take a minute or two to quilt this because I did use a smaller sense of meandering, even though the quilting in between here was much bigger. But overall, a very beautiful quilt. Absolutely beautiful quilt. I think also it will be nice if it's laid on point. I don't mean the actual blocks. I mean, if you put this on your bed, I think on point will look nice. But I could be wrong. I haven't put it on the bed. I finished it and I just thought I'll bring it up here and share it with you guys one time. But I am going to put it on the wall so I can see what it looks like. Alright guys, so share with me down below what you think of this beautiful hourglass pattern. As I said, it dates back to the 19th century. I haven't really seen much of it on YouTube. I don't think I've actually seen anybody who've made it. And you know I like to bring you things that I feel that can extend our quilting skills and we can grow together. So if you'd like to get the pattern, by all means, go ahead, make it, share it with me. I want to see yours. Okay? Notice though, before I go, again, I'm not sure if you picked it up, but my fabrics here are stripe patterns. And I remember doing a video on stripe patterns, I think I mentioned this before, that some people would never use stripe, but in this instance it works, doesn't it? Because you are not focusing on that stripe, isn't it? What's really reflecting back at you is the color construct. Very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Looks absolutely awesome. I just turned the light on so it removes the shadow so you can get a better view at it. Beautifully, beautifully done. I would say this is definitely not a day project. It took me about a week to get this done. Again, could even be longer with the quilting, so probably a week and 2 days, but then I don't do anything on the weekend, so probably a week. Carl insists I should not do any quilting on the weekend, but there you go. That's another conversation. But yeah, but it looks beautiful, guys. I am absolutely loving it. All right, let's go put this on the wall and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like on the wall. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm thinking it looks absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful quilt, don't get me wrong. But my question is it a wall quilt? Is it a bed quilt? Or is it just a quilt? Carl seems to think, to him, he says, I see wine glasses, and I can see why he would say that. And then I said to him, I see our glasses. I also see a genie bottle, but he said, yeah, I can see the wine glasses, and I can definitely see the hourglasses. He disagreed with me when it came to a genie bottle, but for me, the reason why I say it looks like a genie bottle is like this curves here and then down below. That's what I initially saw. That's why it looks like a genie in a bottle, you know. But either way, it's a blooming beautiful quilt. I mean, you can't argue with that. Absolutely gorgeous. It's a bit overcast today, so not much light inside in this corner here, the dining area, but nevertheless it's just really to give you guys an idea. Carl seems to think it's a nice bed quilt. I'll put it on the bed and show you a picture or so, and I want you to share with me down below what you think it's suited as. But absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. Loving the quilting on all of this. It just comes out so beautifully. So beautifully. Really, I'm loving the quilt. Love the scale size of the meandering. And you know what I really love as well? You see that waves between the blocks? Oh, just beautiful. And remember, there's 3 layouts for this, and I chose this one. But anyway, guys, I can't wait to hear your feedback down below. As I said, the pattern is in the description box. And yeah, make one. It's absolutely gorgeous. As I said before, this will be amazing in boutiques. The blocks I'm referring to, you know, just all that variation of, you know, levels of colors. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. All right, guys, can't wait to see your feedback. Bye for now. Happy quilting. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and leave a comment. And I'll definitely see you in the next video. Bye, guys.